In this video, we're going to be sharing the top 10 core exercises to improve boxing performance. Core stability, strength, and power are all integral to improving your punching power. The main reasons why is the lean trunk muscle mass and rotational strength are the biggest contributors towards a punching action. And the reason why is because we've got this terminology called the kinetic chain, where we're transferring force from foot through to the face. Now the core is the main link between the lower body and the upper body, and it really relies on the rapid and strong torso rotation to transfer that force and that energy from the lower body through to the upper body. With this in mind, we need to make sure that our core training exercises meet the demands of a powerful punch, whilst also adapting to the training methods of boxing. In this top 10 exercise list, this is all done on evidence base, but also having the knowledge and experience of working with top end boxers for over 10 years. We've been doing research into the max effort pull-off press, either using a crane scale or the valve dynamo to give feedback on the amount of force that athlete can produce in that pull-off press position in an isometric action. And with this data, we've seen strong correlations with punching power using landmine punch throw. We've in fact seen anywhere between 0.7 to 0.9 R-squared values in different groups. And that is massive. So it's a really, really strong indicator and strong contributor towards the punching action. So not only is it a good testing tool, but also a training tool as well. So you can either do this on the cables, some feedback with a crane scale, or we can do it against the wall with a medicine ball. But the main thing is to make sure that you're putting at least 90% effort into them actions. So we'd do 90% effort over longer durations of 5-second holds, or be looking for maximum effort over 1 to 3 second holds. Ab wheel rollout is a fantastic tool to train anti-extension. So it's really targeting your core strength and stability. The reason why we use an ab wheel rather than a barbell is because with the barbell, athletes are quite tight in their shoulders and it's really restrictive in the range. Also with the ab wheel, you can do different variations in terms of how long that you go. So at Boxing Science, we use an 80-20 rule, where we look to try and maintain tension through 20 and 80% of the movement, rather than going from 0, losing that tension, then going all the way to 100% of the movement and dropping that lower back in there. A lot of core tension, a lot of stretch through that core, and it's really going to be beneficial to improving your core strength, whilst also protecting yourself from lower back injuries. An interesting variation that you can use is adding the bands to it, increasing that tension on the eccentric and on the concentric action. Go for around about 8 to 10 repetitions on this. So cable rotation is a fantastic exercise to challenge anti-rotation through a range of motion. And this is really developing the strength and stability of the oblique muscles, which can provide a foundation to produce rotational power. The problem with cable rotations is that what we're likely to see is the hips or lower body to kind of move with that rotation. Using a Swiss ball between the legs actually helps maintain that leg position. You're having to squeeze that ball with enough tension to keep your feet locked in position. Your hips are locked in position, so this helps you maximize that torso rotation, increase that oblique activation, which will then obviously gain in that oblique strength. Perform it with a Swiss ball. If you haven't got access to a Swiss ball, pop in some mini bands around the knees to try and engage that lower body and lock it in, or having a med ball between the legs as well. You want to be performing between 8 and 10 repetitions on each side of this exercise. So to produce rotational power, you need to be able to cope with the eccentric demands. When we're doing rotational power work, such as the med ball rotational throws, we're having to control the eccentric effectively to then reproduce that into a powerful action. During our strength phases, we need to make sure that we're performing exercises that overload that eccentric strength. So doing cable rotations, sometimes it's quite difficult to do it on an increased load to really start feeling it in the obliques. Do a few little tweaks, i.e. with a Swiss ball that we just mentioned, but also doing an overloaded eccentric variation where we're forcing the weight out, more or less cheating, getting fixed in position, and then just controlling it back whilst keeping our hips and legs fixed into that rotational action, overloading the eccentric strength of the obliques to be able to control that rotational action under increased loads. Increase in eccentric loading will help improve the strength, also increase the muscle mass of the obliques, which is really important because we know lean muscle mass of the trunk is beneficial for punching power, and also provide them strong foundations, which will then transfer into controlling force and reproducing force when you're doing your rotational power training. Landmine rotations, probably one of the most popular core exercises in strength and conditioning for boxing, and there's loads of reasons why. It's challenging core strength, oblique strength, it's training that rotational pattern, whilst also training anti-lateral flexion. So we've got a lot of emphasis around oblique strength, which will then transfer into rotational power. What's really important with this is keeping the feet and hips fixed in position to make sure that you're maximizing that oblique activation. Any like kind of shift in the hips will then get that lower back and then legs involved being a little bit tight through the upper body as well. So perform 8 to 10 repetitions each side of this to help boost your rotational strength and stability. So performing supine holds, really great to improve strength capacity of the core and the abdominal muscles, which is important to retain lean mass of the core when making weight. So we've done this for many years. However, a big contribution towards punch power is a rate of force development of the trunk. You're having to produce a lot of speed and power, and that goes through the core. But when we do core training, a lot of it is done over extended reps and sets. And this is still needed, but also at the same time, we need to try and challenge that rate of force development of the core muscles. So we're adding a band to these supine holds around the chest, pulling down with a partner, and the athlete has to push against the band. And this is increasing that maximum tension whilst doing the supine holds. Perform anything between 3 and 5 second holds. For 5 repetitions, you'll start really feeling that activation of the core, but also you're challenging that strength and that rate of force development through the core musculature, which will then transfer into fast and forceful actions in the ring. It's often referred to as suitcase carries. These are really beneficial for oblique strength, which then can transfer into rotational power. But also, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone here because you're actually developing grip strength of the hand that's holding the weight, whether that's a dumbbell or a kettlebell. This is also done under increased time. So you're increasing that time under tension, which will then transfer into strength capacity, also muscular hypertrophy of the obliques. If grip strength is a limiting factor, so how much load that you can carry to engage the obliques sufficiently, you can do a variation where you're doing a banded variation, where you're carrying the kettlebell, but with a band. The movement in the kettlebell, due to the band, will increase proprioception, which can then increase the activation of the obliques. The oblique muscles have to adapt to the constant movement of the kettlebell. It's increasing and decreasing the resistance, so then that increases the activation of the oblique. So if you're going to give this a go, try for 20 to 30 seconds on each side. So I've rolled 3 exercises into one here in our supine core finisher. This is straight arm, straight leg sit-ups, into leg lowers, into a supine core hold. The key benefits of this is to increase strength endurance of the core, which we know can help reduce lower back injuries. Another key factor for core finishers like this is to help increase or maintain lean muscle mass of the core, which we know is an important contributor towards punching power. So we put this at the end of our workouts, where we'll do 10 to 12 reps on the straight arm, straight leg sit-ups. We'll do 12 to 15 on the leg lowers, and then we'll do 20 to 30 second holds on the supine core hold. So this is a fantastic tool to do with any boxer, on any athlete, but it's particularly good to do it in large groups because you can get all the athletes kind of going at the same rate, on the same exercise, and it's a fantastic way to finish your session. So you'd perform the reps allocated, have 30 seconds rest, and then you perform anywhere between 3 and 4 sets. Pull-off perturbations, a fantastic exercise to improve rotational strength and stability by increasing their activation of the oblique muscles. The reason why it increases oblique activation is because the constant change of resistance is making the obliques to switch on more to create that stability. We can do this in various ways. We can either do it with a weight attached to the band and we're punching out, and that is creating that instability that our obliques have to react to. You can also do it with a band with a partner. The partner is changing the levels of resistance quite rapidly. You can do it manual resistance as well. Partner is pushing against an athlete who can do 2 sides at once. So you'll be wanting to do 8 to 10 repetitions each side of the pull-off perturbations with a weight. We want to be doing around about 20 seconds each side with a banded variation, and then about 20 seconds in total for the manual resistance holds. Plank shoulder taps are a great exercise to develop the core strength, particularly great for boxing as it ticks quite a few boxes. It's mainly challenging anti-extension, strength and stability, which is engaging the core muscles. When we're touching opposite shoulder, we're trying to resist that rotation in. So we're actually engaging the obliques here as well. With the weight going onto one hand, it's really challenging our posterior shoulder strength. So our posterior shoulder strength and core muscles having to engage at the same time to create postural stability. And this is really important to protect the shoulders, the lower back, the hips, all from the likelihood of injury. So this is a fantastic exercise, not only to power up your punch, but also keep you healthy and safe during them tough, hard training camps. Okay guys, so that's the end of this video, the top 10 core exercises for boxing. Thank you very much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, show your support for boxing science, and I'll hopefully see you on the next video.